In today's Ask Joe, we are talking about how to get your clients to tell you how your copy performed. This episode of Ask Joe is brought to you by the 10X Freelance Copywriter, where we tackle questions like this all day, every day, again and again for freelance copywriters like you. Today's question comes from Meg H. Meg says, how do you go about getting clients to share results with you when you're not involved in the post-project testing and evaluations? This is where I would chime in with my response, which is be involved in the post-project testing and evaluations. So if you're going to, and post-project, it shouldn't be post-project, it should be in project. So the conversion copywriting process goes research and discovery, synthesize what you learn, turn that into the next phase of the process, which is writing and editing. And then it goes to validation and experimentation, where you get results at the end of that. And it's a cycle. Then you do more research, more uncovering, more discovering. The discovery might look a little different by the time you're going through a second project or a second phase of optimization, then more writing and editing, and it just keeps going around and around and around. The testing isn't pulled out of that process. You are involved in testing of some kind, and that really does come down to measurement. So if you're in an email marketing platform, there are ways to test and to measure performance in there. If you're working on a meta ad funnel, you can test and measure performance there. If you are doing a website overhaul where you just simply replace the old website with the new website, it can be a little tougher to measure that, but you can still be part of validating the different hypotheses you have for different pages using tools like those found on Usability Hub and stuff like that. So at no point should you not have results in your process, where the final part of it is measuring the work that you do. Now, there are sometimes clients who don't want to test or who can't test. If it's a campaign, let's say you're doing a launch for a course, and that is a 5-day launch window with like a 2-week pre-launch window and maybe a downsell at the end. You don't have enough time anywhere in there to run an A/B test or any sort of split test. There's not enough time in there. It depends, but by and large, you won't have enough time to do that. So there are cases where there's just no way to experiment. You can, again, still validate though, make sure that messages are clear, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, you do need to build this into your process and into your contract. And this is why I strongly recommend that copywriters include implementation in the work that we all do. So if you're going to work in email, you should be setting up the emails inside the platform that your client uses. They might hit publish or send on, again, the automation or the campaign. They'll press that final button, but you'll be the one who implements. You'll involve them in the QA process to make sure all the links work and it shows up right in all the different platforms, etc. But you type that out. You put the copy in there. You add the GIFs and the images in there. You make sure the button looks how it's supposed to look, if there's a button or if there's many buttons or whatever. If there's a countdown timer, you're controlling all of that. That's on you. That way, you can actually see how it performs because you have access to their email marketing platform. You were in there. You set the thing up. When it goes live, you can then monitor, watch, see how it's going. And sometimes it's just as simple as going like, oh, wow, nobody's really opening that email. And because of that, they're not getting the next emails, which they were trigger based on an open of the previous email and then waiting for hours to see and nobody's doing it. So we might need to, for this automation, let's go in and let's update the subject line, or let's at least audit the subject line and from name so we can come up with different ideas for what we could do to increase the open rate on that critical email so that the rest of the flow gets triggered right. You wouldn't know that otherwise, and your client wouldn't know that either, and everybody would just kind of sit there for a couple days and go like, nothing's really happening. I guess that didn't work. And that's not true. It could work. Something small needs to be adjusted. So if you're in there, you can go in and make those changes. Don't be afraid of this. If you're afraid of it, it's time to get over that. It's actually pretty liberating to do this work, and it definitely makes you a more valuable member of their like outsourced creative team. So do your best to get in there and implement. And further, if you're like unsure about, again, I mentioned implementation for email marketing platforms. If you're not sure of how to do that, or you feel weird about it because you've never worked in ActiveCampaign before or in Klaviyo before, Klaviyo, I always say it wrong. Then go get certified. You can get HubSpot certified, Klaviyo certified, ActiveCampaign, like ConvertKit, all of them. You can go get certified in those. It takes a couple hours, and they'll teach you how to use their platform. And that's it. And now you have a certification in that, and you have the confidence to actually set that thing up so that you can start measuring results for your clients. And then ideally sharing those, even if you don't mention the client's name, in that next call you have with a new lead where they're like, okay, well, how do I know that I can trust this, trust how you work? And you can say, well, let me walk you through a recent experiment I did. And you actually did it, and you can really stand behind your results. Thanks for watching. If you have got a question for a future Ask Joe, be sure to leave it in the comments. If you would like to dive deeper into what we talked about today, head over to copyhackers.com or follow the links in the description. And be sure to like, subscribe, and enable notifications so you do not miss another Ask.